y'all. This is Janae Peters, the founder of Prolific Shifts, and I'm here to offer Sunday Sit Down episode 3 to you all this week. So happy Sunday. I hope that y'all have had the kinds of weekends that have centered you, grounded you, given you energy, calmed you, giving you peace, comfort, whatever it is that you needed from this weekend. I hope that you've had it. As I sit here today, I just have a ton of gratitude for the offering for today. And the gratitude I have is because everything that's happening today is really thinking about relationships and the way that they actually make space for expansion for us. So last week, Sunday Sit Down asked you to identify the values that most guide your decisions and your connections. And this week's question is centered around relationships and gives you an action item to follow up with your response. Last week didn't have an action item, and I didn't quite like that. So it's like you're offering a question. Anyone can ask a question at any time. But what does it mean to bring some intentionality and to put some action behind asking you to answer that question? So that's what we're doing today. And answering this week's question is going to likely include those values that you thought about last week, if they are indeed in alignment with how you move and work in the world. So in the event that you didn't watch episode 2 and didn't think about, reflect upon, list the values that most guide your decisions, you might want to go back to that one first. You can still watch this regardless, but again, if we're talking about intention, if we're talking about actual shifts, process is important, right? So episode 2 will help you get prepared for episode 3. And one thing I didn't clarify in any of these spaces, like when you think about sort of why am I offering this here, I'm not offering these questions or these reflections because my work is done and I figured it out, and so I'm offering it from that place. Here's what I did to get here. I'm offering this here because I also need to put a little more muscle, a little more action behind my own alignment. So we're in this together, and I appreciate y'all being in it with me. This week's question is coming straight out of that. The question asks, what are 3 relationships that you value in your world, and how do they serve you, and how do you serve them? I'm not trying to get messy. This is a video that's going to live for a long time, so I'm not going to get messy. But I'm going to offer in this space the 3 types of relationships that I value most right now, and how they serve me and how I serve them. The first type of relationship that I'm going to talk about are my familial and also romantic relationships. So I'm going to combine those as one because I'm at a point in my partnership where that is family, right? And I know it's not blood family, but that is a type of family relationship, a type of commitment that has served me in a lot of ways. So I've been thinking a lot more lately about mirrors and windows, right? So there are times in our connections with others where we get to see mirrors, so we get to see things that we've offered reflected back to us. And there are times when we see windows, right, where it's like I can see through that to see who you are or what's being offered outside of this. And for me, my romantic partnership in particular has been a mirror and a window. When I think back to the 7 years we've been in each other's worlds and what I've learned about myself in that time, how that relationship has served me, that relationship really upgraded or gave me space to upgrade and expand my sense of what was possible for me. And I had high expectations for myself, but it actually helped me to not limit what I thought was possible for me. And when I think of how I serve that particular relationship, I think about what we can offer for folks in their space for growth and expansion. And I think that I can often serve as a good litmus test for how, I don't know, this is getting kind of messy. Let me see how I want to think about this. How have I served this relationship? I think of India Ari's Steady Love, where it's like, ooh, steady love. And I think about a steadiness that I can offer, which I hope isn't boring, right? But it is a steadiness that's Yeah, we're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep moving. We're going to look ahead. We're going to look at things differently. We're going to look at things creatively. We're going to help each other be better. And I think that that is something I've served in that space. When I think about my familial relationships, I love my family, y'all. And it's not because my family is perfect or we do everything right or we're never having tension or conflict. And it doesn't mean that there aren't ways that we can serve each other better. But my family has been an anchor, like has been a rock, and that's how they have served me. And when I think of how I serve them, I think of everything that I've done outside of the space of being in close proximity with my family and the ways in which I have really tried to share what I've learned, what I've seen, what I've noticed, and to share things in a way that helps our family to see beyond what we might think just is or has to be, and looks ahead to what can be. So that's one way. Another type of relationship I want to talk about are my friendships. And this has been a big weekend of friendship type of relationships for me. I have never had a shortage of folks that I know that I can count on in my world. It's looked different a lot of times, but I've never had that shortage. I've been extraordinarily blessed in that way, and I know that that is not everyone's truth. One of the friendships that meant the most to me in my world was my friendship with my friend Paris Adams. And this year will be 4 years since she passed away. It also would be, this month is the month that she would have turned 33. When I think about that relationship, Paris is the type of friend who was always hyping you up, always happy to see you, and always checking in. And for me, when we were younger, always getting me in some trouble. I mean, I participated too, so but it was led by her. So Paris was always opening me up to new experiences and just keeping things exciting and interesting. And when I think about how I served that relationship, that friendship, I just think about the laughs. I think about all the inside jokes, the nerdy inside jokes, and how we literally just rarely stopped laughing when we were on the phone or in each other's presences. And I think that balance that we had, so her creating the excitement, me keeping things light, and also asking the questions that needed to be asked was a really helpful thing. When I think about my friendships now, I just think about how I've had the opportunity to be surrounded by people who pour into others, right? And who don't worry about what's coming back to them, but who pour in and are always so excited to see folks succeeding. And like that is a defining factor in my friendships and relationships. And they serve me because, you know, it's always good to be seen by folks and be thought highly of by folks when it's hard to see that in yourself. Even doing something like this now, I get freaked out about posting on social media about this, about creating these videos. This is not my MO. But it is actually something I want to do. Like, I want to share this stuff. And my friends hype me up. And they really answer these questions, y'all. Like, I have friends who really answer these questions. And I'm so grateful for those kinds of relationships. I'm going to offer a fourth one. Another relationship that I value a lot in my world are mentorship relationships. And I'm in a mentorship relationship right now where I really let someone down because I let myself get so busy that I did not attend to something in that relationship that I said I would attend to. And that person is also an accountability buddy of mine, and theoretically and actually tore me a new one to the point where I had to reevaluate my whole life. And so that is one way, and I'm laughing, but I was not laughing then. But that is one way that those types of relationships serve me. Because one of the things I think about when I think about relationships and the power of them is that there are some things that we can do on our own. Like what I'm about to say is that relationships are really the only way that we can expand with a type of depth that goes beyond surface level. So, and that's a messy thought, and I'm just going to let that sit there. And please, as you're hearing this, you could say, no, I grow this way. This is how I expand. Do you? But I think what I'm going to offer is that there's a limit to how we can grow and expand on our own. As humans, we are very interdependent, right? And that interdependency is because there are things that others have that we just can't. Like we do have our limits in a lot of ways as humans, but relationships give us space to learn more, see more, and expand, because every time we hear something from someone, every time we engage in that conversation, do something new, challenge ourselves and explore, we are learning something new, and we're creating new possibilities for ourselves. And so when I think about how relationships serve us, I think oftentimes we think about that as like a good thing, or like something that feels good all the time, right? But I think the way I'm offering it here is that there are things that can serve us that can have delayed gratification, right? Like it might not be an instant thing that's like, when I'm around these people, I feel good all the time, and that's how I'm supposed to feel. It might be, this person has said the thing I needed to hear, right? And if I take that seriously and receive that offering from this relationship, I'm going to expand. If I ignore that offering, I'm going to stay the way I am, and we have to always be making choices about what we will take and what that means for us in our particular worlds. This video is at 12 and a half minutes, and I swore this was going to be under 10, so I'm not going to talk too much longer. When I want to offer this, I actually want you all to not think about the types of relationships. I'm going to do the prompt in my life outside of this space. I don't want you to think about types of relationships, but think about the actual people behind them, right? And so when you think about the relationships that mean the most to you, what are the ingredients for those meaningful relationships? And which ingredients come from you, which come from them? And how are the values you identified represented or enacted in your relationships? When I talked about the values last week, I brought in love and authenticity, right? So for me, I have to feel and witness the love in some ways to see that come through. And I also have to be able to engage from a place of my own authenticity and receive the authenticity of the person with whom I'm in relationship, and really think about how that's all working together for our good or for our ill. And so I make a lot of decisions about relationships based on experiences of love and authenticity, and really working with that relationship to think about what that means in the space of that relationship, as opposed to what it means for me when I'm on my own. Now, that being said, like having boundaries around like what you expect from folks and how you want to be treated and what you will tolerate, that's important. Right. And just because we might learn a lesson from a lot of negativity or bad things, that doesn't mean that that's how we need to engage. So be thinking about that in relationships, and in addition to thinking about the ingredients for those meaningful relationships, I want us to also think this week about when you think about relationships that didn't or don't currently serve you, or ones that you might not serve you. Are there any patterns in those situations that illuminate anything for you? One of the things that comes to light for me is I know that one of my patterns is to tend towards being a caretaker and an obliger, right? And that's for everyone but me. And so when I'm seeing that pattern be illuminated in my relationships, I have to really take a step back and see who that's serving, how and why. Is this me falling into my pattern again? Is this something that needs to happen and is coming from a place of love and authenticity? Or is it something that's just not serving either of us and something that needs to go away? So that's something that I'm always kind of checking for, patterns and situations that don't tend to serve me, and I'm just making sure to check in on those. And a sign of healthy relationships include having good boundaries, right? Experiencing relative security, right? And experiencing also, I think, some version of growth and possibility. I think that anything that's stagnant for us, like that's just comfortable. And comfortable could be a good thing, and you can also expand in comfortability, right? So comfortable doesn't have to mean stagnant. But I think about healthy relationships as things that are always in progress. Like a relationship doesn't stop it. It should evolve. And that doesn't mean that the evolution won't ebb and flow and maybe experience a short block, but it means that on the whole, there should be some version of growth and possibility in lots of types of relationships. So yeah, just want y'all to be thinking about that this week, and thinking not only about how we want to shift in our own senses of self, but also like how we want to shift in relationship, or how relationships can be a tool for shifting for us as well. This was too long for me, for what I wanted to do. But relationships are thick subjects. So I just really wanted to offer that and to get a sense of what's going on for folks. And the action item, right, is to take some time this week to let the folks or relationships that you value know that you do. So take some time and brainstorm on one tangible thing that you can do in each relationship, and focus on that this week and make that an offering. So if you identify 3 relationships you value in your world and how they serve you and how you serve them, also take some time this week to let those folks know that you value them, and do something that in each relationship that demonstrates that. So looking forward to next week's Sunday Sit Down. And in the meantime, thank y'all for listening, and I'll see y'all again soon. If you liked anything you heard, please don't hesitate to comment, like, subscribe, or support in any of these ways, and especially through your love and care. Peace, and I'll see y'all again soon.